I talked to the ref. No, the answer is no. I don't feel like.
Let's get it on! Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Ducross Brothers, the Sports Warriors. As you can see, we are back, and boy, kind of a little bit of different stuff going on here with the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. Hopefully everything's going over good, and you guys can hear us loud and clear because we have done stuff a little bit different this time. So if you're in the chat room right now on YouTube, and you're viewing our channel, please give us a follow and subscribe, and let us know that you guys are hearing us okay. In the meantime, Sean, you really want to talk about the KSI Logan Paul stuff first?
No, we're going to talk about the Diaz interview first.
All right. So many of you people have clearly seen the video that has been kind of going around the social media empire right now, and that was Nick Diaz's interview with Helwani. And a couple things came out of that was kind of interesting, Sean, because he believes the BMF title is his and only his, and rightfully so, because he believes that everything that has happened in combat sports is breaded by him. And he kind of wants a shot at that BMF title for kind of defending his own brother. And I kind of understand where he's going with this, because, Sean, you're my brother, and we've been to battles, we've been to wars, and I've always been right there being like, dude, you pick on my brother? Well, guess what? I'm gonna go after you too, right? So,
but that thing's interesting because when you talk about the BMF title and you talk about the situation that we just heard with Nick Diaz on Helwani's show, and the interesting thing about that is the fact that when you listen to the way that he speaks and you listen to him talking about his brother and everything else like that, the interesting thing to me was the fact that he said that the BMF title was his. That was supposed to be his moment. And when you talk about that, and he says, oh, you know what, I took a step back and I let my brother have that moment. That's cool, but at the same time, why did you just, in my eyes, slap my own brother for it?
I don't think he necessarily did that, because when you think about it, there's a lot of stuff that went into what he was feeling, because at one point in the interview, Sean, he was talking about that he did not necessarily understand why people were already mentioning his name against Jorge Masvidal for it. And then he, like you say, he had to kind of take a step back and allow his brother to do it and go through his footsteps, because most notably, it came out, one clip that I'm going to play here in a second, and hopefully you guys can hear it, is that Nick Diaz said basically why he stepped back was his anxiety.
Focus on what is important to me during these times, especially when I got this magnitude of what was what. So I'm like telling these guys in the back, like, yo, I'm happy to be here. Cool, I gotta go and say hi to everybody, which I love to do, and deal with everybody wondering what, looking at me, right? But then my brother's fighting, so I'm like, okay, well, as long as you don't have me out here for my my brother, my brother's fight, it's like you got President Trump there, and then you have all this security, and like serious security though that gives me a little anxiety, you know what I mean? Extra, especially when I feel like, if this type of
See, and that was the thing, him talking about anxiety. And we've talked about on our show before about when an individual gets anxious and can't overcome certain things. He just wanted to be left alone in the back, and then you bring him out, and he's like, okay, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, but don't expect him to do more.
Right,
He's
because it becomes it became too much for him. Is what I got from that portion of the clip was that it became so much more to him than what he could actually tolerate, right?
Yeah.
Like, his brother could take on that limelight, could show a little bit more vibrato, but for him to do it's just on him. He's more into the fight game. If he could fight and do less, he would do it. But when he has to do more and include fighting, and where he can't just walk around and be himself, like he talks about in this clip, Sean, he talks about him being the kid from Stockton, that you can't take the gangsta out of him, the way he talks, the way that he carries himself, you can't. I totally understand that, and I totally respect what he's saying, because for the first time in the interview, yes, he rambled. Yes, at points of the interview, I'm like, dude, is this guy drunk off of something?
Is he coherent enough to go ahead and handle himself the way that he needs to be during this interview?
As you get more into the clip, you see that almost that transparent side of him, that he wanted to sit there. He wanted to explain to the people, to the fans, about who he is, why he does certain things, because he felt like he actually finally had to have this sit-down interview.
And it's interesting because I had a hard time getting past the first 2 minutes of that interview. I really did. Because the media...
I like it. I understand it. I can see where he goes. And I don't know, when I did that night, my anxiety got the best of me. And sometimes that's what happens. And for Nick Diaz to be so open and transparent about it, I think we need more fighters or more people to be open about it.
Yeah, so I looked at the positives with the Diaz interview, and I looked through the past of my uncomfortable state of watching it, and looked back at it as a guy that potentially is going through his own insecurities, his own issues that he mentioned, but at the same time, his other avenues that he needed to go ahead and tap into.
I like the fact that he tapped into calling out Jorge Masvidal, though, because that was an interesting thing.
And, like, you want to say that? You know, you want to do that? You want to walk? That's on you. And I understand. You got, you know, who knows? Ups and downs of life too. Oh, I can relate to you. That's why I ain't mad at you. But it's like, you know what I mean? If you want to walk, that's on you. But you know what you have to do.
You think you crossed the line?
I think that nobody else has any say in this except for me and the person who's in the rightful position. So, man, I'm only coming forward because I've been summoned for the most part.
By who?
Just the whole MMA,
The game?
fan base demographic, and my other brother, because he just told me straight up. So I'm like, oh, that's why I'm here. And so,
What did he say to you?
yeah, he just said, like, ain't nobody can get away with this, blah, blah, blah,
See, I love the fact that he had the goal to sit there and basically tell Jorge Masvidal that if you're going to mention my name or mention my brother's name, that you're going to have to go on. Let's go ahead. Let's take a walk.
Let's run it back.
Yes.
But the question is that are we going to see him run it back, or is just him puffing up his chest like the Diaz's are known to do? That they're known to be very, very abrasive in certain aspects. So what is the next avenue?
The ball is essentially in the court of Dana White.
And that's what he said.
You want this fight to happen? Then this is where the avenue is going to be. Something he also mentioned in that is that it became to the point where he could no longer put his body out there and continue to do the work that he needed to do without the paper being presented to him. And paper, I mean money. Because he had, at one point, what was interesting, Sean, at one point he said he had a stay-at-home girlfriend. There were so many stuffs that was in this interview alone. If you guys haven't had the opportunity to sit down and watch the Helwani interview with Nick Diaz, you guys are doing yourself an injustice, because you guys have to sit there and listen to this 45-minute interview.
And that's the thing we were talking about, was Helwani took this like a champ, because there's a lot of times that in this field you'll do interviews that are awkward, uncomfortable. We've had several of them over our journey, and it's how well do you handle it. You either handle it bad or you move forward. Helwani, the fact that he went 48 minutes with Nick Diaz, where there were several times that there was cringe-worthy stuff that made you go, dude, I would have just cut that off like 5 minutes ago. 5 minutes earlier, I would have been, no, I'm good.
Yeah, and there's been times where we have actually done that with interviews where we'd be like, oh man, this is just bad. This is just a train wreck. We're just going to cut it off. Sometimes you have to. But for 48 minutes, Helwani, man, that
took one like a champ. Like when you're talking about a 12-round fight, the dude was in a 12-round bout of how can he be so good
all we could do
at what he does.
All we could do for Helwani. That's all we could do. Seriously.
Because he probably felt like this.
This is very true.
Probably felt like he was a little bit in the twilight zone when he was dealing with the interview with Nick Diaz. But, I mean, you can't ask for a better guy to say, you know what? He's going to have a sit-down interview with Nick Diaz.
Right? And you're going to have to sit there, get through it, and perform at a high level that we all know that you are. Yeah, so very interesting for them to stand there or sit there and talk to each other so openly, so candidly. Much respect to them.
Yeah, and then you've got the other, I mean, one way or another, you look at everything that we've gone through in the last, week with the Diaz brothers, okay? You've got Nick Diaz talking about wanting to get back the BMF title. That essentially
standing up for his brother.
Him standing up for his brother. Then the fact of the matter is that Nate Diaz flaunts retirement on Instagram. That gets everybody in the social media market
Again, I don't blame him.
And talk about, you know what, F a rematch. It was over before it started. Did he retire? Did he not retire? You hear it on social media that he is retiring, that he's going on tour because he's got his own marijuana thing that he's going to be doing. He's got a gym that he's opening up, and that's what he's going on tour about. But then he comes back and says that I never said that. Where did I say that? Where did I say I was retiring? So, much like the wrestler Sting always said, Sting always used the old line of, nothing's ever forever. And in that moment, you look at here, or Sting says it's nothing's ever for sure. And you look at where we're at now, nothing's ever for sure when it comes to freaking the Diaz brothers.
Absolutely.
Nothing's ever for sure. They'll say one thing 1 minute and get them to do the next. Another clip from the Helwani show interview was the fact that when Nick Diaz was discussed about stuff that he's doing, was the gym, and then was the fact that he does what he wants, and he still gets called that he's a gangster. The guy can't buy himself a break. No. But the one thing too is that he said is that, you know, this fight game was always about fighting. He was doing the backyard stuff before the backyard stuff was real.
Kimbo Slice apparently was his friend before everybody knew who Kimbo Slice was.
So you look at that aspect, and you look and you come across Nick Diaz talking about, oh, I did this, I did that. And then his other thing that he takes exception to is the fact that when they say, oh, talk about it in the media. You'll go ahead and sign your contract. We'll negotiate your contract through the media. Then when he does the negotiation through the media, he's the bad guy. He's the villain. But yet when like Conor McGregor does it, or when like Jorge Masvidal did it, it was a different topic.
Right, it was an
because
applaud.
he's classified as a thug, it's a completely different story. And that's a real big shame that's what the Diaz brothers continuously have to deal with.
Every day, they will have to continuously take their shots in the media, good, bad, or indifferent, Sean. They are the Diaz brothers, and they will always be out there as the villain, because that has been what they have been since day one in mixed martial arts. They've been the bad guys. Bottle incidents with Conor. You've seen the Rat Pack get inside of a ring and just absolutely go ham on everybody. They've put themselves in this position. So it's hard to take them out of that position when they've been in it for such a long time, Sean. When they've been there for a while. When they've been there for a minute. It's not just easy to turn that light switch off. Can't do it. But we're the Ducross brothers. We're going to go to a break and come back out. So make no mistake about it. The Ducross brothers, Sean and Tristan Ducross, will be right back after this brief break.
All right, folks, we are the Ducross brothers. We are here every Wednesday, where it's with the best of them.
Welcome back to the Ducross brothers. We are Tristan Ducross. This is Sean Ducross. So we go from Nick Diaz talking about that to talking about what happened over the weekend with this guy.
No, the answer is no. I don't feel like a 2-point foul with no warning was warranted. But I'm new to this sport, so I don't know. We're going to contest the commission, but to be honest, I don't think they're going to budge. But, if I'm going to go down, I'm going to go down falling. Trying, sorry. I don't make the rules. Yeah, all three judges gave me the round 10-8. I don't. If I were JJ, I would not take the third fight. He got that W today. Like, leave while you can. It is not safe. I'm confident 9 out of 10 times I beat this guy. Today was not my day. Today was not my day. As far as what I'll be doing in the future, yeah, maybe boxing.
That was Logan Paul.
That was Logan Paul after his loss his split decision loss to that of KSI.
If you talk to many YouTubers or influencers that's been around this, it was quite controversial.
It wasn't. Because of the fact that when you look at it, to me, and you discuss the situation at hand, like I talked to you before we came on the air, was that when you look at the incident that they're questioning, is that so Logan Paul grabbed the back of the head of KSI and hit him with an uppercut that staggered him and essentially knocked him out. But due to the fact that KSI was falling down, he popped him in the back of the head twice. And in boxing or any aspect, that is not allowed. You're going to get deducted points. So to say that he doesn't know why he was not warned for the 2-point deduction when it's a blatant foul, it is a 2-point deduction. So when you look at that, it's like, hey, all bets are off. That's a 2-point deduction. So you look at that and it's like, okay, you're in this to do what? I don't know why he necessarily did this, because he wanted to check off a box that he did boxing without headgear, and it was a different aspect. The thing that I did not like, well, I'll get to that after this, okay? let's stay on KSI versus Logan Paul. Okay? This was an amateur boxing bout first in the UK on YouTube.
Where they had headgear, 16-ounce gloves.
That broke YouTube records.
It broke multiple records, not just... Sean, for an amateur... Keep in mind, Sean, we're talking about an amateur bout. This means that they had to wear headgear. They wore 16-ounce gloves. They sold out an arena. They made... their last fight drew $3.5 million at the gate. We're talking about an amateur bout. They killed it. YouTube killed it. But many people all of a sudden said that here they go. After one fight, they turn pro, they go to the zone. Oh my God, what are we doing? What are we doing?
What everybody wants to know what they're doing is the fact that how does KSI and Logan Paul make $900,000 and UFC fighters can't even make remotely close to that unless your name is Brock Lesnar and Conor McGregor.
Jorge Masvidal didn't even come close.
No,
we're talking about
$500,000?
Sean, $900K for each fighters.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about the gate. We're not talking about the pay that they're going to get for the pay-per-view buys or the subscription deal that they had with DAZN. We ain't talking about that. We're talking about $900K. Do you not understand $900K for two guys that had one fight before this? One fight? And they were on the undercard. You had Devin Haney, who has been proclaimed to be the next Floyd Mayweather. He got $1 million. $1 million.
Joe Saunders got $750,000 for
What
this.
are we talking about here?
And not to mention is those are real champions, real boxers, and they were underneath Logan Paul and KSI.
And Logan Paul almost did the same numbers as Haney did. Pay. And will probably double or triple what Devin Haney walked out with.
Yeah, easy. If they're already getting paid $900,000, they're easily going to walk out with at least $5 million, maybe even more. It is quite ridiculous if you ask me.
Many people, Sean, were probably hoping that that this was going to happen.
But unfortunately, it didn't because it drew more views for the main event of the BMF title of Nick Diaz versus Masvidal. Outdrew them. Then they also outdrew Canelo versus Kovalev.
Sean,
What?
Most viewed fight on DAZN.
Tristan.
Most pirated
Tristan.
event in the history of combat sports.
Tristan. Somebody needs to tell me where we are going with combat sports.
I can't tell you.
Our boys at Fight Book, please join this in a group chat. I want to know. Fight Book, tag us in a group chat on your community, and let's find out how we are getting here, because we are the only ones I've heard us say. Don't be surprised when combat sports transitions more towards that of the entertainment.
Absolutely.
Because WWE and wrestling is far up here. Boxing is far up here. So what do you do to counterbalance that? Oh, let's bring celebrity deathmatch to real life, basically.
It's interesting because the comment that was presented was that it's a disgrace to boxing.
It is. It is just like everybody says that the BMF title was a disgrace to the UFC for even doing it.
It is. And it isn't.
So it's a catch-22 moment.
Most definitely. Eddie Hearn said that there's money to be made in this.
There is.
But then he's quickly to kind of backtrack a little bit because when a question's presented to him, what are the likelihoods of him being able to match Justin Bieber versus Tom Cruise? He said, we've kind of talked about it, but we really haven't pushed forward with it.
You know, Logan Paul in his post-fight press conference said that there's at least 7 opponents, roughly, that he would entertain the idea of coming back.
He said that he would challenge CM Punk, who just joined the WWE again, and because of where it's going. You have to understand that combat sports is where it needs, when it's already been out there. Bear from MTV is fighting on Fame.
And so is apparently Marty McKenna versus Sam Goland.
See? So it's already
I don't know
happening.
who those guys are, but apparently they're from the UK.
Right, but it's already happening. UK is known for doing that
And you know what's
matchroom boxing could
And
very
that's the
well
thing.
make a
Tristan,
statement.
Hold on. That's the thing. Okay? Where's Eddie Hearn from? Is he from the UK?
Yep.
Fame is from the UK. Celebrity MMA in the UK. Already has backing. Already has motion. Already has a fan base. So, Eddie Hearn is just bringing something that's successful in the UK that can be successful in the US? Eddie Hearn,
Because he has a platform.
he has a great platform that is struggling, that needs help, that needs guidance. The zone in the US is not taking off the way that it's needed to take it off. So what's left? What's next? What do you do if you're the zone? How do you gain more subscriptions? I would not be surprised if they gained about 1 million of subscribers for this event.
Man, check this out. On the Zone. They really never had a YouTube page until recently. KSI Logan Paul hug it out after the rematch. 2.1 million views. KSI's ring walk featuring Rick Ross. 217,000 views. Devin Haney. We're talking about the walkout versus Devin Haney's highlights. 217, and the highlights of Devin Haney, 250.
Jesus, Murphy.
The highlights of KSI's Logan Paul compared to Devin Haney, 11 million views.
You want to hate this, but I don't want to say this because it's maybe very harsh, but the ignorance of sports fans now is unreal. The fact that we are so going far left about what is real fighting, what is not staged fighting, to talk about celebrities outdrawing legitimate athletes who train and work wholeheartedly to achieve levels of great success that many people may never see. The fact that you had Shannon Briggs come out with Logan Paul, like, to show legitimacy? This is just so awkward. We got real fighters that want to have real fights, whether it be boxing, mixed martial arts, whether it is from amateur or to pro.
And somehow, bro,
It's all
the YouTube world is taking over.
It's all become, how famous can I get on social media without having to do the work? I'll give Logan Paul and KSI props. They're YouTube influencers. They're YouTube creators. They broke the YouTube algorithm and became bigger life stars for doing chaotic stuff. One's a rapper, One's a guy who got in trouble for going to a suicidal forest
In Japan?
One guy got in trouble for going crazy in his neighborhood in LA where Ronda Rousey was. But we're talking about the sport
That you and I love and have followed for several years. Watching, again, one guy used to always say, and I'm going to throw his name out there because he knows who he is. Skippy Cohen of Madhouse MMA. Love those guys. He always said that this sport would never become mainstream because of stuff like this. But yet,
we are mainstream.
Numbers
say it's mainstream.
And I'm so torn about what is happening to the sport. Because you continue to try to talk positively about it, not negatively about it. Numbers and money talk the most, folks. And the next couple of days, those numbers from the gate, from the subscriptions of DAZN, from the pay-per-view buys, in some weird about way, from everything that I'm hearing, is going to shatter all records.
It's going to go on the level of Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather.
More than
They're
that.
going to make more money
than
than
Canelo
both those
did.
two.
They already destroyed the Anthony Joshua, Andy Ruiz numbers.
They're going to destroy Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather. They're going to hit numbers of astronomical proportions that is going to make this not a one and done. It's just like that BMF title's not one and done. I don't care what anybody says.
Same here. I don't think that's done. No, I do not
You
think
know, I was
that's
joking
done.
around on our Instagram page, the Sports Warriors. Go follow us. Is that I was talking to people about the BMF title, and I was like, "Yo, dude, they're gonna unify this shit.
I think so.
They're gonna unify the
People
the
say I don't want an
BMF title.
Intercontinental title. They don't want a World Championship title and a WWE title. So they unified it. At some point, I am sorry to say this, fight fans. I am sorry to say this. As much as you hate it, as much as you dislike it, it is inevitable. It is going to happen. You will get a unification title bout between the BFM champ and 185-pound champ if you want to. It's going to happen.
Crazy.
I just don't know anymore.
I don't think anybody really knows anymore about what is going to happen. But at the end of the day, I just gotta simply, give it up to Logan Paul and KSI before we go into break. That's what the fans thought. But we are the DeCross Brothers. Generally here every Wednesday at 11 p.m., 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. We are a combat sports talk show. We give you real opinions, real take, real honesty. You either like us or you don't, but we're here. All right. You're looking for a great MMA community, combat sports community? Head over to Facebook and check out Fightbook MMA and join some like-minded fans. And don't be afraid to engage.
What's up, everybody? We are back. We are the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, my partner in crime, Sean Ducross. Sean, interesting week, was it not? We had Nick Diaz, Logan Paul stuff. Briefly want to talk about, right? IE Fight Night? We had a little bit of that going on. Canelo and Kovalev, that's right. Canelo and Kovalev went down, and they drew big numbers for boxing.
Did they? Because by all accounts, once again, Canelo continues to slide with his gate numbers. He went from 8.7
To
8.2 mil
Yep.
for his gate Jacobs did the 8.7. He continues to take a tick down. And many people are like, why is he losing money?
Why is he losing traction with the fight fans?
And you know what? I saw an article that says that
And then I'm like, look at Logan Paul.
But when you look at what Canelo's doing, I just saw an article saying that Canelo needs to repair his image. And I didn't read it because nor do I care to read it because I'm just going to give you my spin on that title.
Yeah.
So my spin on that title is the thought process. If he has to repair his image, I assume he has to repair his image due to the fact of his decline in his gates. And by that, I mean is also his quality of opponents. Because he moved up, and yes, I told everybody that this was an interesting fight, Canelo versus Kovalev, because of Kovalev being a natural light heavyweight, and he had the reach. Canelo had to get inside that reach. If he got inside that reach, it was going to be a different ball game. But when you look back at that, once Canelo got inside that pocket, and he started ripping body shots, the game started to change and started to slow down. And when you look at Kovalev, Kovalev never had the punching power. He threw out the jab all night long. That was working up until Canelo got inside. And when you paw it out there and you just keep throwing it out there, and then you start to gas out, that jab becomes nothing more than a paw. And when a guy can feel that, he's going to walk right
because
through
there's
that.
no aggression. There's no game plan behind that jab. If you're just using it out there as a measuring stick in boxing, you're going to eventually get worked because if you have a great fighter's IQ and you're like, this is a guy that this is all he has, by the middle rounds, Canelo all of a sudden figured that out. That's all he had. And it was like a light switch went on. I could get inside that jab, I could get under it, and I could push the fight.
And that's exactly what he did.
Once Kovalev was retreating and going backwards, most of the fight is when you knew it was ball game.
Yeah, and so when you look back and you see about how we got here to why people are saying that he has to rebuild his name, yeah, when you avoid fighters and still take title fights, you think that by taking title fights that it puts you up here. But in reality, you can take all the title fights, unify all the belts that you want to unify, but if you don't fight the quality of athlete, and that's not to diminish Kovalev, who's a champion or was a champion.
I just don't think he is that elite champion that he once was, because this is a guy that has fought through injuries, almost lost an eye, and yet still inside that ring, world champion, was a world champion, performed at a high level. I just don't see him as that next step that could be the guy that could have dethroned Canelo. I don't see it. And the only, in a weird way, Jorge Masvidal wants to go across the bow and take on Canelo. In a weird, sick, twisted way, I'm kind of intrigued about that because I don't think that would be a Floyd and Conor situation, right? I think this could potentially be an actual good fight and a good matchup because they're kind of the exact same fighter if you think about it. Two guys, same size, same weight. Stylistically a matchup made in paradise if you look at it.
Sure, but
money,
but
repair the image of.
You're not going to repair the image with that, Tristan. You're not going to repair
not?
it. Because it's not. You're just going to get more people talking about issues and going ahead and saying, oh, Canelo versus Masvidal is because his image is hurting. He needs the money. It's going to be more negative cloud over Canelo when he had guys at 168 that he could have fought of greater value. He could have fought Caleb Smith.
Yes, he could have.
He
That would
could
have
have
been a
fought
good
David
fight.
Bermudez. He could have fought Caleb Plant. For crying out loud, the one guy that everybody still wants to see Canelo fight is Jean Pasquale. So put on your big boy pants and start competing at an elite level and stop avoiding the tough fights.
This is kind of where
He's trying to take a playbook out of Floyd Mayweather, who avoided the big tough fights, took the fights that looked on paper tough fights, and looked on paper as value, but when you dig deeper, there was of no value and of no
to half the
substance.
fights, right?
And Canelo is trending the same way. It'll be interesting to see that. So let's talk about Golden Boy.
And what Golden Boy's
Let's talk about what Golden Boy's doing, okay? You've got Canelo up here, who's essentially the Floyd Mayweather, okay? He's the A side. He's picking the smart strategic plays. But then let's go down the ladder a little bit, okay? When Floyd Mayweather was around, Floyd Mayweather continuously ducked a good portion of very high-level boxers. And he avoided fighting Manny Pacquiao at Manny Pacquiao's peak until Manny Pacquiao was too slow. So you look at a guy down the ladder, Ryan Garcia. Everybody's talking about Ryan Garcia's next opponent needs to be that of Devin Haney. Again, if you don't know who Devin Haney is, go YouTube him.
You know him, but he did himself no justice on that undercard.
Let me educate you. Ryan Garcia, over 200 amateur wins. Devin Haney, over 200 amateur wins. Devin Haney has over 20 wins, no losses. Ryan Garcia is on that verge of almost hitting that 20 threshold.
Yep.
But he's not there yet. But you're right now talking about boxing, and you're talking about the next level. At some point, Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney need to clash before it gets too late. Because Devin Haney and Ryan Garcia is essentially almost the same age right now. You are calling Ryan Garcia the future, the next high-level prospect, the Flash. Well, let's see this fight before we get Floyd and Manny Pacquiao past their prime. Let's see Canelo put up his money against caliber fighters that have titles. They're now talking about, again, to throw back to what I just said about competing against lesser known boxers with titles. The next one in line for Canelo that is being discussed is not Jean Pasquale. It is not Caleb Smith. It is not David Bermudez. It is Billy Joe Saunders,
Who again on the undercard of Logan Paul did not impress, and even said was not the best fight of my career.
because he was
You're on the undercard of Logan Paul, facing a guy that on paper you probably should have ran right through in remarkable fashion, make a name for yourself, draw attention to you, and basically you, just like Devin Haney, in my eyes, laid an egg on probably the biggest platform that you probably could have. In what looked to be also another small. Was it just me, or was that ring the smallest ring that I have ever seen?
yes and no. I mean, it was only 6 rounds for the Logan Paul fight.
You're going to stick Billy Joe in the side of a squared circle against Canelo, and you think this is going to draw? If any boxing fan saw what they saw on Logan Paul KSI 2, I'm not impressed, and I'm going to call it exactly what it is. Not impressed.
It's just very finical about where we're at right now with combat sports, and it's entertaining on multiple levels. It reached to a lot of people, but at the end of the day, we talk about it. We need to get back to the grassroots. We need to get back to what makes combat sports unique and different. And I think what makes you and I stay sane when we do our podcast or anything else is the fact that we get to talk to amateur fighters. It's the fact that we get to commentate for amateur MMA promotions. It's that aspect that keeps us grounded. And this past week we had IE Fight Night Mayhem. That was quite fun. There was a lot of mayhem going on. But doing commentating on an amateur level reminds us to stay humble, to stay relaxed, and have fun doing what we do. And seeing these guys compete like they did this past Saturday was, again, another stellar show. I believe we had 7 fights. 6 of them went. And I'll just leave it at that. But there was a lot of good fighters on that fight card.
Hell yeah.
That was like, okay, I see you guys. I see the future fighters. So yeah, it was a great night of amateur fights.
I did feel bad for the James Dodd fight not being able to get to actually happen.
And there's reasons behind it that I don't want to get into about what happened or anything like that because I don't want to take away from the event.
No.
The event was great, from the youthful fighters to the main card of that night. So I give a shout out to James Carter, Brandon Dwyer for stepping up to compete for the 145, for the 145 or the 135?
135, the bantamweight.
135 title. It was just a unique experience, and if you guys haven't gotten a chance to get out to IE Fight Night, next year will be your opportunity to get out there and check out some IE Fight Night and see some of the grassroots fighters,
The rising stars
of the Inland Empires, what we call them. But you know what? I think that's about it for our show.
Yeah. But we're going to do Cross Brothers. Hopefully we'll be back next week. If not, stay tuned to our Facebook page. Just search Do Cross Bros. Do Cross Brothers, and you'll be able to find us on Facebook. And we'll also be able to go ahead and interact with all you fight fans. Just search Sean and Tristan Ducross, and we'll be right there for your viewing pleasure. We are a new take on combat sports talk, where we give you our opinions. We're very transparent on what we talk about here on the Ducross Brothers Sports Warriors. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Got some new fans. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon.
Give us a thumbs up. Like us.
Right. Show some love. In the meantime, we'll be back. Until next time, I'm Tristan Ducross. This is my brother, Sean Ducross. We are the Ducross Brothers, the Sports Warriors.
Let's get it on! Sprawl and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross.